Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we plant a ton of annuals. I say today, but it might take us a few days, but I'm motivated. So let's go. In the spring, we cleaned this bed out quite a bit. And if you remember, I left a lot of open areas in this bed where I want to put in annuals. Today's the day, so let's get planting. So this bed is on the south side like my other bed, and I've gone ahead and planted a bunch of stock. You can see a lot of it's blooming. There's also the geranium that I had overwintered in my basement as a bare root annual. And I also planted a bunch of yellow snapdragons that are not blooming right now, but some of them are budded up. So these are a lot of plants that I started from seed, and we are getting them in the ground. It's a nice overcast day, so it's a perfect day to be doing this. It's still cool outside, so the stalk should bounce back. So I'm just showing different angles of this bed and where I've placed all these plants. I will be giving everything a good drink of water with some fertilizer. And also I will be deadheading as plants need it over time. Well, this is part one of a series of videos that I'm going to be making showing you where I'm going to be planting all those annuals. If you want to follow along and see where those plants go, please hit the subscribe button below and also hit the notification bell so it lets you know when I've posted another video. I really appreciate it. And rounding up the corner on the other side of the bed, you can see all the stalk with that nice bright red geranium there in the center, and the yellow snapdragons are in the back. We planted up this bed a while ago with a few plants. There's ajuga, there's candy tuft, we have a small leaf rhododendron, there is the alyssum, we have lobelia, and we have vinca. The vinca is still not putting on a great show, so that's fine. Hopefully it will later this summer. But the lobelia and the alyssum look wonderful. I want to pop in a lot more color in this bed. I have the space, I have irrigation set in here, and I have the plants. So we're going to put a bunch of color right in this bed. I finished planting the annuals. What I did was I planted some Coleus, and I put them so that they were in front of each of these vinca. So each vinca has a Coleus in front of it. And then in between each of the vinca, I put a blue pansy. So you can see that repeating pattern here. I'll show you from a higher level what it looks like, but I figured you could see it better down at this close-up level. So from a higher level, just want to show you again, here's a Coleus, here's a Coleus. These annuals were already here, so I'm just adding some additional color. And even if the pansies are a little leggy, I can definitely go in and cut them back as needed. But I just wanted to show you where the plants all went. Here's another pansy, and these are the vinca that are right here. So these will add an additional pop of color to this bed. Now let's go work on another bed and add some more annuals. Even though I'm trying to plant a whole bunch of the annuals that I started from seed, I did buy one annual. It's an annual that I've been wanting for a few years. It's called the Elegance Lilac Sachet, and it is a type of geranium. I love the color of it, and the reason that I bought it, other than wanting to enjoy it for this year, is I'm going to try to overwinter it, just like I did with a lot of my zonal geraniums that I overwintered bare root in my basement. So I'm going to try to do that with this geranium. I'm also going to do an experiment and use rooting hormone to take cuttings and see if I can root this geranium. So I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm also going to play around with it. It's a pretty big plant, even though this pot is pretty big. So I don't want to add a whole lot more to this pot. But first, let's get this geranium planted. The potting mix that I'm using here is potting mix that I made myself. If you want to learn how to do that while also saving money, be sure to check that video out. I'm going to add just a little bit of slow release fertilizer in here. I use the Osmocote slow release fertilizer. and add just a little bit of water to the planting hole. I'm going to loosen the roots just a little bit. Okay, I like the color of this pot, and I think that this geranium looks really pretty, this pinkish colored flower with this teal colored pot. And the only other thing I'm going to add to this pot are some of the tiny Alyssum that I have left over. Some of them I've already lost because they've just been sitting in these 6-packs for a long time. I'm trying to salvage what I have that's still blooming. So I'm going to go ahead and plant these all around the perimeter of this geranium, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's done. But I am going to use the slow release fertilizer as well as some water. So let me get these planted and I'll show you how beautiful this looks when I'm all done. I think this looks really pretty. I've been wanting to have some sort of a pot between my 2 garage doors, and I think this stands out really nicely up against this light color of the siding of my house as well as the garage doors. And I finally got a plant that I've been wanting for a long time, and I finally was able to use up even more of the Alyssum, which means I got more of my annuals that I started from seed indoors planted somewhere in the landscape, even if it's in a pot. Let's keep on planting. I have lots of plants to go. The next thing we're going to plant up is this container. It hangs on the side of my barn. What I was thinking is I was going to put some Impatiens in there. I grew these Impatiens from seed, and normally I grow a bunch of flats of Impatiens. This is all I grew this year, so I figured I might as well put some of them in this basket here. I've done that before in previous years, and the Impatiens have thrived and looked beautiful in that spot. I also have this plant here in my holding bed of my plant nursery. I got these plants from my friend who also has a backyard nursery. I'm almost positive the name of this plant is Creeping Charlie. And so I thought this would look really pretty as a spiller towards the front of this container here. And then I would put all the Impatiens that I can fit towards the back here. I'll be using my slow release fertilizer in each of the planting holes for the annuals. And then I also will be giving everything a nice drink of water when I'm done. So let's go ahead and get these planted. I did put quite a bit of potting mix in this container here. What I'm going to do is any excess dirt that I have, I'm just going to put in this bucket over here. Now that that perennial plant is in, I'm going to go ahead and put my annuals in and fill this up with some beautiful color. All done. I'm very happy with how this came out. I think this is going to add a nice pop of color to the side of my barn, which is where I have a ton of hosta. So why don't I go ahead and hang this up over there and I'll show you what it looks like. Here on the east side of my house is where I have a ton of hosta, and I love all the different foliage and color that the hosta provides, but I equally love having some of this color of the Impatiens in this area. What I'm going to do is take you in for a closer look so you can see what it looks like. I feel like this is such a whimsical little basket. So pretty, and those Impatiens are just going to get bigger and really fill in this space nicely. In the spring, we planted a bunch of window boxes, and we did it on a very low budget. They looked wonderful, but they're looking a little tired now. And some of the things that we put in these window boxes were Pansies. We have Alyssum. There is Lamium, which is a perennial. And there are chives, which are also a perennial. The chives are still looking wonderful in many of my other container pots and window boxes, but these window boxes are located at my front porch. Gets quite a bit of shade there. So I think that's part of the reason why these plants are looking extra leggy and extra tired. So what I'm going to do is pull out the chives. I'll probably just pot them up for right now until I can figure out where I'm going to put them in the landscape. And then also I'm going to remove all of the pansies, but I'm going to keep the lamium in here, and I'm also going to keep the alyssum in here. So why don't I go ahead and work on this window box first. There, look how much cleaner this looks. It's ready for some fresh flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and put some fertilizer in each planting hole, and I'm going to start planting my pansies. I will be giving this a drink of water, and then I'm going to work on this box over here. So let me go ahead and finish this up, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. I went ahead and potted up the 4 chive plants. I harvested the chives and will be using it in my cooking, and they will actually regrow and look beautiful. Since they were looking leggy and falling over, I figured it's a good time to harvest. So let me go ahead and show you where the window boxes went. So this is where the 2 window boxes are. And one thing that I noticed was there was some creeping Jenny that I put in this window box. I have plenty of creeping Jenny. I'm going to add some to this one as well. Over time, these Impatiens will get tall. They'll get really tall. They're going to love life here under the shade. So let me take you in for a closer look so you can see what they look like. Don't you just love how the lamium looks this time of year with the blossom on it? I just love the variegated leaf of it. And the alyssum just adds that extra fluff factor to the window boxes. The Impatiens will add some nice color to it as well. And here's the second window box. Notice the creeping Jenny that's peeking through on this window box. I love how it adds that chartreuse color to the box. As you can see, I have all of this to tackle as well. So stay tuned. We have hot weather coming in about a week. So my goal is I need to get these in, placed all around my yard. I'll be letting you know where they go. Until then, make it a great day with gardening.